This is one of the merry shipwrecked people from the hit show Gilligan's Island, delightful television star Natalie Schaefer. This is another zany castaway from Gilligan's Island, the witty man of many voices, humorous television star Jim Backus.
More than 6 decades have passed since a small crew of stranded castaways first entertained America. Yet few know the full journeys their actors took after the cameras stopped rolling. How did a show about being stuck on an island become a story about lasting fame, forgotten fortunes, and quiet, poignant goodbyes? From runaway Boy Scouts to Hollywood legends, their lives spanned far beyond the script, with some buried in ocean waters, others in star-studded cemeteries, and one with no grave at all. Prepare to uncover the hidden stories behind the faces that made Gilligan's Island timeless. The man behind Gilligan. Bob Denver was the face of innocence and humor for an entire generation. Yet, the man behind the sailor's hat was far more complex than his iconic character. When Gilligan's Island premiered in 1964, Denver was 29, having already carved an unusual path to stardom. Before becoming Gilligan, he was a math and history teacher at a Catholic elementary school in Pacific Palisades, California, a far cry from the goofball he made so beloved. His entry into acting came through family ties, as his sister worked as a secretary on The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, where he landed a beatnik role, setting the stage for his breakthrough. Denver's portrayal of Gilligan wasn't a caricature, but a delicate balance of childlike naivety and genuine kindness. People who knew Denver described his on-screen silliness as a conscious performance, a technique rather than his natural personality. Away from the cameras, he was shy, intellectual, and deeply well-read, known for his gentle nature and kindness toward everyone on set. This subtle complexity helped make Gilligan a character that has endured in American pop culture far beyond the life of the show. One of Denver's lesser-known contributions was his advocacy for fellow castmates. He used his influence to push for co-stars Russell Johnson, the Professor, and Dawn Wells, Mary Ann, to have their names included in the show's opening credits, and fought for Dawn Wells to receive publicity equal to Tina Louise, who played Ginger Grant. This generosity highlighted Denver's loyalty and respect for his colleagues, qualities that endeared him to many behind the scenes. Despite his success, Denver's personal life was marked by several marriages, 4 in all. 3 of these unions resulted in 4 children: Megan, Patrick, Emily, and Colin. His longest marriage was to Dreama Perry, lasting nearly 3 decades, from 1976 until his death. Their relationship was a stable anchor in a career that sometimes saw Denver typecast and pigeonholed. Health issues shadowed Denver's later years. In May 2005, he underwent quadruple heart bypass surgery. Just 4 months later, he succumbed to throat cancer at Wake Forest University Baptist Medical Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He was 70 years old. His wife, Dreama, and all 4 children were present at his bedside during his final moments. Following his death, Denver was cremated, and his ashes were entrusted to his family. The precise location of his remains has never been publicly revealed, lending a quiet mystery to the final chapter of a man who, like his character, seemed to vanish off the map in the end. On screen, Gilligan never left the island, and in life, Bob Denver disappeared without a known address, leaving a legacy as elusive as it is beloved. His role was a simple one, but Bob Denver's life told a richer story, a story of humility, kindness, and commitment to friends. What the sailor's hat symbolized on screen was but a small part of a life that left a deeper imprint on those around him. As fans continue to remember Gilligan, Denver's subtle but profound impact lingers behind the laughter. From Bob Denver's whimsical innocence, we turn now to the man who played his steadfast partner, the skipper, a role shaped by life beyond the camera's lens. The skipper's real life. Alan Hale Jr., who brought the skipper to life, was no stranger to the sea or to roles that felt like home. Born into Hollywood royalty as the son of famed character actor Alan Hale Sr., Hale Jr. started his acting career as an infant in one of his father's silent films, proving that show business was in his blood. When Gilligan's Island began, he was 43, bringing years of experience and a wealth of knowledge to the role of the island's gruff but lovable captain. The character of the skipper was initially scripted as a harsh, barking captain, but Hale reimagined him as a frustrated father figure whose temper softened quickly, revealing patience and deep care beneath. His signature hat slap and little buddy voice became trademarks, embodying the gentle authority and enduring loyalty fans came to love. His ability to mix humor with compassion turned the skipper into the heart of the show. What few viewers realized was that Hale's seamanship wasn't just acting. During World War II, he served in the United States Coast Guard from 1942 to 1945, bringing real-world maritime experience to his performance. This connection to the sea went beyond Hollywood. It was personal. After the show ended, typecasting limited his options, leading him to open Alan Hale's Lobster Barrel, a Beverly Hills restaurant where he quite literally wore his skipper hat to greet guests, turning his role into a business identity. Hale married twice and kind of stayed a devoted family man. His first marriage to Bettina Reed Doer produced 4 children before it ended in 1964. That same year, he married Naomi Ingram, who stayed with him right up until his death in 1990. Even though he seemed polished in public, Hale kept a lot of his own personal struggles tucked away, including a secret battle with thymus cancer. The illness was barely known, not even to many co-stars, until after he was gone. He died on January 2nd, 1990, at St. Vincent Medical Center in Los Angeles, aged 68. After he passed, the United States Coast Guard reached out, offering a full military funeral in honor of his wartime service. Still, his widow Naomi declined because she respected what he wanted for cremation and for scattering his ashes at sea. So he was, in a way, returned back to the waters that shaped both his life and how he carried himself. Dawn Wells, representing the cast, attended the service and did so in a quiet, private way. In life, Hale had spent hours visiting children's hospitals dressed up as the skipper, bringing warmth to kids who needed it. His final resting place in the Pacific Ocean sort of mirrors the scripted world he left behind. The captain who would bark at Gilligan off-camera had a softer devotion that keeps inspiring people. Alan Hale Jr.'s story reminds you that roles aren't only acting work, but also a kind of personal echo. The skipper wasn't just a character. He was a vessel for Hale's own experiences, and the sea was both a backdrop and a safe harbor. His legacy drifts along the waves, timeless like the ocean itself. As the captain's ashes returned to the Pacific, another notable voice departed the earth with no known grave or marker. Hans Conried's story takes us into an entirely different kind of legacy. Voices beyond the island. Hans Conried's presence on Gilligan's Island was brief but memorable. Playing the befuddled pilot Runaway Feldman in just 2 episodes, he left a lasting impression as one of the few recurring characters beyond the core cast. Yet Conried's influence extended far beyond the island, thanks to a prolific career that spanned decades and mediums. Born in Baltimore in 1917, Conried was a classically trained actor with ties to Columbia University and Orson Welles' Mercury Theater. His vast talent found expression in iconic voice roles that shaped American childhood, most famously Captain Hook in Disney's 1953 Peter Pan. He also voiced Snidely Whiplash on Dudley Do-Right and Wally Walrus on The Woody Woodpecker Show, becoming a defining presence in animation history. Conried's live-action work included playing Uncle Tanoose 19 times on Make Room for Daddy, showcasing his versatility beyond voice acting. His career was marked by a distinctive voice and an ability to inhabit both villainous and comedic roles with equal flair. His contributions to entertainment reached millions, albeit often behind the scenes or off-camera. In 1942, Conried married Margaret Grant, and with her he had this kind of 40-year union. They raised 4 children, too. His home life stayed kind of sheltered, like a steady little thing, even while he was always busy with the professional side of things. It was a companionship that lasted right up until the end of him. Then, in January 1982, 4 days after going through a major heart attack, Hans Conried died in Burbank, California, at 64 years of age. His last request was both unusual and oddly kind. He donated his body to medical science. So, in practice, there's no grave, no obvious plot or marked place for the man whose voice charmed people across generations. There's this contrast, his body not being in any cemetery while his presence stays everywhere in pop culture. The voice that shaped a whole era's imagination, it still stays around, even though his body, in a purely scientific sense, became part of a wider life cycle. That means his legacy is vocal and literal at the same time, like teaching, but also continuing after his lifetime. Choosing to donate his body shows a kind of humility and generosity that rarely gets called out, but it fits the man he was. He gave so much to other people's pleasure and learning. In death, just like in life, he turned into a quiet servant of future generations. Hans Conried brings us back to a thought that legacies don't always look the same. Not all of them are carved into stone or resting beneath earth, but some stay fully awake, carried inside the voices we can still hear in our heads. And while one familiar voice drifts away into science, others keep living on through money, philanthropy, and the memory of the folks who knew him maybe better than anyone else did. The world of Gilligan's Island extends far beyond its fictional shores, with each cast member carrying a story as unique as their character. The skipper's return to the sea flows quietly into tales of wealth and generosity, the next chapter in this island of memories. The richest castaway. Natalie Schaefer, the actress who embodied Lovey Howell, lived a life full of surprises behind her character's genteel facade. While Lovey was portrayed as a slightly scatterbrained socialite, Schaefer herself was a shrewd businesswoman who quietly amassed a sizable fortune. Born in Red Bank, New Jersey, in 1900 to a German Jewish family, she launched her career on Broadway by 1927 and transitioned to Hollywood by 1941. Despite the show's portrayal of Lovey as humorless, Schaefer insisted on a rendition of the character that brought kindness and warmth, shaping how audiences would remember her for decades. For many years, Schaefer concealed her true age, telling everyone she was just 51 when the series aired, even though she was actually 63. This playful deception shocked friends and fans alike when her real age came to light after her death. Her personal life was marked by a short marriage to actor Lewis Calhern from 1933 to 1942, and a brief engagement to Charles Butterworth, who tragically died shortly after. Schaefer never remarried and had no children, choosing instead to focus on her career and business endeavors. Her success extended far beyond acting. Schaefer was the only Gilligan cast member to become a millionaire, largely due to savvy investments in Los Angeles real estate. Over the years, she quietly built an estate estimated at around $10 million, a remarkable achievement compared to most of her co-stars. She used her wealth generously, donating much of it back to causes and communities connected to the acting world. In her later years, Dawn Wells, who played Mary Ann, became a caretaker for Schaefer, a testament to the bond that had formed between the cast members beyond the spotlight. Schaefer passed away in 1991 at the age of 90, succumbing to liver cancer at her home in Beverly Hills. Her death was marked with honesty, as her obituary finally revealed her true age, something she herself had long concealed. True to her wishes, Schaefer was cremated, and her ashes scattered into the Pacific Ocean off Point Fermin Light in San Pedro, California. Her love of the sea, which she shared with other cast members, kind of signaled a final peace way out from the Hollywood bustle. Among her many charitable gifts, one of the biggest, estimated between $1.5 to $2 million, was given to the Lillian Booth Actors Home, where an outpatient wing was renamed for her in a quiet way. Schaefer's legacy reads like both wealth and heart, using her fortune to look after the actors and performers whom the industry often forgets. She felt like the richness of a life well lived, honestly much deeper and textured than the sitcom role she played. Her choice to share her wealth without much noise showed a humility that matched her on-screen kindness. Her story sits in sharp contrast to the typecasting and financial struggles many of her co-stars ended up facing, meaning fame and fortune don't always march together. Still, Schaefer never lost her real affection for her craft or for her colleagues. She stayed a beloved Hollywood figure, valued for her professionalism as much as her philanthropy. Looking past the character, Natalie Schaefer's life gives a strong narrative of shrewdness, kindness, and ongoing generosity. She used her platform to give back and to remain connected with those the industry leaves behind. So her influence didn't just stay on paper, it extended far beyond the island idea entirely. As Lovey Howell's gentle kindness fades into the waves, the story shifts to a man known as Hollywood's man of 1,000 faces, whose own legacy was just as varied and complex. Hollywood's most versatile face. Vito Scotti, a character actor with an astonishing range, spent nearly 50 years bringing life to roles across every possible ethnicity Hollywood imagined. Despite his Italian-American roots, Scotti was often cast in parts far removed from his heritage, showcasing a chameleon-like versatility rare even in the film industry. Born in San Francisco in 1918, Scotti faced early tragedy, losing his father as an infant and spending parts of his childhood in Naples before returning to America in 1925. His career blossomed through nightclubs, Broadway, and eventually television, where he became a familiar face. In 1949, Scotti married Irene Scotti, a former Peruvian flamenco dancer. They had 2 children, Carmen and Ricardo. Carmen's pioneering spinal implant surgery became a cause close to Scotti's heart, and he spent much of his life fundraising for a scholarship fund named in her honor. After Irene's death in 1979, Scotti remarried Beverly Scotti, who remained with him until his passing. Scotti's death in 1996 from lung cancer marked the end of a remarkable career filled with hundreds of diverse roles. He passed away at the Motion Picture and Television Country House in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 78. He was laid to rest at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in the Abbey of the Psalms Mausoleum, resting beside his first wife, Irene. Known within the industry as the man of 1,000 faces, Scotti's ability to embody countless characters often went unrecognized outside Hollywood circles. Despite years of invisibility to the public eye, his peers admired his professionalism and craft. This paradox of being widely seen but rarely known is a common thread among character actors. Though few navigated it with Scotti's breadth, his legacy is complicated yet impressive. A man of many identities in front of the camera, but very much himself behind it. Scotti's work expanded the range of representation on screen, even if through stereotypes, at a time when such roles were limited. His prolific output became a vital link in Hollywood's storytelling machine. The life of Vito Scotti reminds us how vital character actors are to the fabric of cinema and television. Though their names rarely headline marquees, their presence shapes performances and breathes life into scripts. Scotti's career stands as a testament to the unheralded artistry that keeps the industry moving. The richness of the cast's lives outside of Gilligan's Island reveals a tapestry of success, sacrifice, and legacy that deepens our appreciation for the show. From Mr. Magoo to millionaire Jim Backus carried a voice that millions recognized but rarely named. Yet his impact on American entertainment is impossible to overstate. Best known as the voice of Mr. Magoo since 1949, Backus brought to life one of the most beloved cartoon characters, earning 2 Academy Awards for the animated shorts he starred in. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, In 1913, Backus came from an upper-middle-class upbringing and attended the Kentucky Military Institute as well as the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York. His handsome presence and distinctive voice became staples of radio, film, and television for decades. Before Gilligan's Island cast him as the millionaire Thurston Howell III, Backus had already built a vast resume, including memorable appearances such as the father in Rebel Without a Cause. In that 1955 film, his portrayal of a man vacuuming in an apron while overseeing James Dean's rebellious character has become an iconic image of 50s cinema. Backus's dry wit and comedic timing extended across multiple formats, making him a versatile and respected performer. Despite his professional success, Backus faced personal challenges. He was married briefly to Betty Keane from 1939 to 1942, before marrying Henny Backus in 1943. Their marriage lasted 46 years until his death. Together, they co-wrote 4 humor books, revealing a shared sense of comedy and partnership that endured through the years. The couple never had biological children. As Parkinson's disease progressed, it took a toll on Backus's career and health. By the time the 1981 reunion film, The Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island, was filming, Backus could only manage a brief cameo, signaling the challenges he faced. His final years were marked by a quiet dignity in dealing with illness. Jim Backus passed away on July 3, 1989, at age 76, from pneumonia, which was a complication tied to Parkinson's disease. Out of all the original castaways, he was the first one to go, and it kind of closed a big Hollywood chapter in a hurry. He's buried at Pierce Brothers Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles, in the central lawn section, where Henny later joined him. His gravesite is also one of the few traditional resting places among the cast, so it feels like a real, touchable place to remember. On his gravestone it says, "A darling husband," and that sounds simple, but it's a modest little tribute for someone whose voice, work, and influence shaped so many generations. Nearby, there are other notable names like Marilyn Monroe and Truman Capote, which basically places Backus among Hollywood royalty, even in death. A lot of folks remember him as the millionaire on a desert island, but his career actually brought more honors than that famous part. Jim Backus's legacy is huge and also kind of layered. Acting, voice work, writing, plus a long marriage that really showed steadiness in all the show business chaos. His story makes you notice that multidimensional talent is often quietly hiding under the characters we end up loving. The depth behind Mr. Magoo and Thurston Howell makes how we recall the Gilligan ensemble feel richer, not just surface level. You can still sense Backus's humor and warmth in the laughter he sparked, even as life kept moving forward for the others who were touched by the island's glow. And among them, a young actor's star was just starting to climb, setting a whole different course from that point on. The innocence of a leopard-skin, loincloth-clad boy would lead to a Hollywood trajectory dazzling in its scope, changing the definition of fame itself. The rising star. At just 13 years old, Kurt Russell stepped into the world of Gilligan's Island as a guest star in the 1965 episode Gilligan Meets Jungle Boy. His role was brief and unassuming, a feral child who could only echo words, but it marked one of many early appearances that hinted at the extraordinary career ahead. Already under a 10-year contract with Walt Disney, Russell was well on his way to becoming one of Hollywood's most enduring stars. Born in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1951 to actor Bing Russell, Kurt grew up surrounded by the industry. His early exposure to acting was often behind the scenes, learning the ropes before stepping fully into the spotlight. By the early 70s, he had risen to become Disney's top star, a status few achieve at any age in Hollywood. Russell's personal life has been marked by steady relationships and family, marrying Susan Hubley in 1979 and having a son named Boston. After their divorce in 1983, he began a new chapter with Goldie Hawn in February of that year. Their partnership has lasted over 4 decades, stable and private despite their high profiles. Their son Wyatt arrived in 1986, grounding the family further in shared longevity. Kurt Russell's career is defined by fearless choices and iconic roles ranging from Snake Plissken in Escape from New York to Wyatt Earp in Tombstone. He has embodied heroes, anti-heroes, and gods from other galaxies, always pushing the boundaries of his artistry. His body of work spans decades and genres, earning him respect as one of modern Hollywood's most versatile leading men. Even if his stint on Gilligan's Island now feels like a small footnote, it still marks the start of a career that ended up eclipsing the show's own early fame. What started as a boy in a loincloth turned into a star, and somehow just his name alone can brighten screen credits and pull in crowds all over the world. Russell's time-staying power in an industry famous for blink-and-you-miss-it attention says a lot about his talent, how he keeps adapting, and his mostly grounded, steady temperament. He also seems to dodge the usual traps that often catch young performers because he grew into a real veteran without losing that spark people associate with youth. His personal life keeps some privacy intact, while Hollywood keeps trying to tug at it. And that balancing act is almost as impressive as any scene he ever did. From Jungle Boy to Hollywood icon, his road shows both transformation and constancy, like he changes while still staying the same core way. It's a dedication to the work, plus a loyalty to family that really reads as the kind of success that lasts. And his story adds weight to the legacy of the series, but also to American cinema overall, bridging old viewers and newer ones in the same breath. With Russell's star still shining, the island's tale keeps echoing forward through the lives of the folks who built that whole world, especially one standout professor whose real life included real trouble and also a kind of heroism that endured. Fame and fortune took many forms for the castaways, but their paths remain endlessly fascinating, weaving through loss, triumph, and unexpected reinvention. The professor's real battle. Russell Johnson, who played the thoughtful and resourceful professor on Gilligan's Island, led a life filled with challenges far beyond the scripts he delivered. Born in 1924 near Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Johnson was the eldest of 6 children. Tragedy struck early. His father died before Johnson turned 10, leaving his mother to send him and 2 brothers to Girard College, a school for poor orphan boys in Philadelphia. This early hardship shaped a resilience that would define him throughout his life. Johnson's service in World War II was both heroic and harrowing. As a B-24 bombardier in the United States Army Air Forces, he flew missions over the Pacific. In March 1945, his plane was shot down near Mindanao in the Philippines. The crash left him with broken ankles and a long recovery ahead. For his bravery, Johnson received a Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, the Air Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, and the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. After the war, Johnson pursued acting using the GI Bill, studying at the Actors Laboratory in Hollywood. His early career saw him frequently cast as villains in westerns, a far cry from the clever, good-natured professor who eventually brought him fame. It was the professor role that finally allowed him to be seen as a positive figure, one whose intelligence and kindness made him a fan favorite. The writers even revised the show's opening credits to include him because of his popularity. Johnson married actress Kay Cousins in the late 40s, and they had 2 children, David and Kimberly. Family tragedy struck again when Kay died in 1980, and later their son David passed away at only 36 in 1994. The loss of his son had a profound impact on Johnson, shaping his advocacy and volunteer work in the decades that followed. He dedicated nearly 20 years to raising awareness and funds for HIV and AIDS research, showing a deep commitment to causes beyond his own pain. In 1982, he remarried Constance Dane, and in 1988, they relocated to Bainbridge Island, Washington. Johnson's later years were quieter, but full of purpose, his legacy extending both on and off the screen. Russell Johnson passed away peacefully at his home on January 16, 2014, at the age of 89. His agent confirmed he died in his sleep, and that part still sounds surreal. Dawn Wells, his friend and co-star, broke the news with so much heartfelt sorrow, saying he was one of her 2 favorite people, and she mourned his loss pretty deeply too. Johnson was cremated, and then his ashes came back to his family, like a final calm return. What made the professor feel so sharp on screen kind of matched how he handled things in real life. You know, that famous shortwave radio made from a coconut? That's the kind of inventiveness that shows up when someone is truly resourceful. His competence and intelligence weren't just written for TV either. Those traits were lived, formed from wartime injury and also from personal tragedy, all of it shaping him over time. His story is basically a testament to perseverance. It shows the kind of strength that sits underneath a gentle persona, the sort of character audiences loved. And even though his final resting place is private, almost like his later years were, the impact of his life and work keeps moving forward. From the skies over war-torn Asia to living rooms all across America, Johnson's influence reaches way past the island he famously called home. Gilligan's Island's cast lived lives far richer and more complex than their roles suggested. From lost battles to timeless friendships, their stories brim with resilience and heart. If you enjoyed this look behind the scenes, please like and subscribe for more stories like this. Your support helps keep these voices alive.